Hey, welcome to DWIT 3D. My name is Tim. Today we're going to have a look at the 3D ZW Man vertical heat pressing machine. Is this machine a good alternative to the other resources out there for inserting heat insets? Stick around and find out. We're going to unbox this, set it up. I know there's other videos that have been produced out there on this machine, including Bryan Vines, who did a whole video on heat insets and what they are, how they work, why you would use them. I'll link to his video below in my video. He had his machine already assembled. I'm going to actually unbox and assemble this machine so that you can see exactly how that's done. And then we'll do a couple test heat insets. We'll press a couple heat insets into some plastic I have over here, and we'll see how well it works. So let's go ahead and start the unboxing. Okay, first of all, we'll have a look. There's the name of the product right there. This is available on Amazon. Right now on Amazon in Canada, it is a $69.99 machine, which is what, about 50 bucks US, I would think, something like that. So we open the box and we're greeted with the heat pressing machine, diagram of the machine assembled, a packing list of the parts that come with the machine, and looks like some pretty simple assembly instructions. So let's go ahead and unpack this. We have a bag of hardware pieces here, springs and some bolts and some T-nuts. Okay, we have our little slidey up and down that's going to attach to the gantry. Okay, we have a 2020 extrusion. This 2020 extrusion is, let's just have a look here, it is 210 millimeters long. And then we have, this looks like, according to the packing list, this is the fixing clip kit. This looks like it's going to be the part that attaches the soldering iron to the unit. Then we have what looks like it's going to be our handle. Okay. And we have a bag with an assortment of heat tips for different size heat insets we want to do, including an adapter for the soldering iron to go onto the machine. And this looks like an end cap for a 2040 extrusion. And then over here we have a soldering iron with a safety cap on it. Look at that, that's nice. And adjustable temperature soldering iron here with a display and the plug. So we'll get rid of that bag. And then we have a bag of tools, looks like 2 hex keys and a wrench. Okay. And then over here we have a 2040 extrusion coming in at 280 millimeters long. 2040 extrusion. And underneath here, there is our base plate for the unit with the anti-skid rubber feet. Okay, so let's go ahead and throw this box aside. So let's get to the assembly. So the first thing we want to do here, let me switch to this camera view here. It might be a little better to see things. There we are. Okay, cool. So the first thing we want to do is fix the 2040 profile with M516s onto the base plate. Okay, so we have the 2040 profile. Both ends are threaded. We have a couple M516s here, so we're going to, let's go ahead and screw this into the base plate. Okay, now I do already have a heat inset press that I've made, but this one looked a little bit more, I don't know, it looks more sturdy, it looks a little more compact. We'll see how it all works out. Okay, we'll get these M5 started in here. I'm doing this video completely unedited and uncut, so I'm not going to edit. Well, I may edit the beginning of it a little bit. You'll have seen my logo come in there, but otherwise, if I make a mistake, it's going to stay in the video. because I believe in real life people do make mistakes and they have to sometimes stop and figure things out. So that's the way I'm going to kind of work on some of my videos that I work on. So then we'll tighten these M516s up. There we go. I don't think those will loosen up, but if they did, I would probably come back and put some Loctite on those, but we'll leave that for now. So there's the 2040 screwed into the base. Okay, step 2 is fix the 2020 port profile on the sliding assembly with M516 screws. So we are going to use the 2020 extrusion, and we are fitting the slider, which is this, onto that. Okay, so let's fit the slider onto the 2020. So this extrusion does have holes for putting the slider on, and it does look like, yes, the holes are threaded. So we are not using any T-nuts on this. We're just going to screw this directly on. So they want this piece with the little chevrons pointing down. So this looks like this goes on just like that. Okay, so we'll take some of these M516s. This should go down and it should bite the threads in there. Perfect. Whoops. Oh, do I have this on backwards? No, I'm not getting some reason. Let's see what I've got going on here. This nut. Oh, I see. Okay, there's one side. Okay, so you have the nut for the wheel here. Okay, and on one side of this extrusion, you'll see there's a little bit of a cutout. Right, you can kind of see it right there, just below my nose. Okay, we want to make sure that side's up so that this recess, this nut here, can fit. There we go, allowing that to sit flat on there. I just had the 2020 extrusion turned around the wrong way. Now we should be able to screw these in, no problem. There we go, that's much better. Okay, we get that one in. We got one up top here. Okay, perfect. Those are just threading into the aluminum, so we're going to tighten these, but not overly tighten them. Like so. It's on there good and snug. Good. Yeah, I just had that backwards, so they have put a little cutout there to fit that nut so it lays flat. Okay, step 3, install the soldering iron and handle. Okay, so we have this bag. It looks like the kit for the soldering iron handle. That is going on the, so this turns around this way, and this is going on this flat side of it like this. So, oh, there's a couple more T-nuts in here. We have a couple lock washers and a couple bolts. And these look like, these are bigger bolts. These are, they're not saying, but these are M6s for sure. Yeah, these are M6s by 34s. So we got some bigger bolts for this part. Okay, so it looks like I'm going to, don't think it matters which side is which because both sides are the exact same thing. Pipe clamp, GRL3. These two pieces are identical, so it doesn't matter which way they go down. So we're going to slide in a couple of these T-nuts. Oh, don't go anywhere, bolt. Slide a couple of these T-nuts in. Okay. And then we're going to grab the iron. So there's no way, yeah, once this is together, you're not going to be able to get that iron in there easily. So we have to insert the iron first into the grip, like so. Just like that. It's going to hold that nice and snug. We'll make sure our display is nice and straight on the front. Now we're just going to align these M6 bolts with those T-nuts we just slid in there. So I'm going to go ahead and get the first one started, and then I can slide it over to the second one and get that in place. So that is on that M6, so we're going to need this bigger wrench. There we go. And then I'm going to just eyeball that second M6 right there. that second M6 nut. Okay, we got those threads started. We'll loosen that, and it looks like they've got that about halfway down the extrusion, somewhere right about there. Okay, so we'll just tighten this into place here. Make sure the soldering iron's up and straight. Okay, and this has got a little bit of wiggle movement, but I'm just going to do my best just to get that nice and square in there. There we go. And that's not too snug in there, but it's enough in there to hold that soldering iron. That's perfect. So I guess that could come out, but your plug's not really going to fit through that other end. Neither is this. You could probably take this apart and slide the soldering iron out if need be. So we'll leave that there for now. And then it looks like we're putting the handle on the end here. So we have a big massive black washer and the handle, which has, oh, that handle's got a screw that's screws in. It looks like it's going to screw in forever, so we'll just kind of leave that enough thread to thread in the end of this. And the handle's going to slide on like so. There we go. So there is the soldering iron mounted with the handle on the right hand side here. Okay. Next step. Let's see. To avoid damaging the wheel during assembly, it's necessary to adjust the tightness of the wheel after installation to prevent it from swinging. Okay, so what they're doing here is, what they're saying here is, yeah, there's an eccentric nut right here, and I'm going to guess that this is loose, so it'll slide onto this 2040 extrusion easily. And they're saying to avoid damage, we'll tighten that after we get it onto the extrusion here. So let's just go ahead and see how well this is going to slide on. And oh yeah, that slid on real easy, but you can see it's nice and loose and wobbly. So what we'll do is, while we've got it in this position, I will tighten this eccentric nut, and let's see how many turns it's going to take. There we go. A little bit, maybe just a little more, just like tightening the eccentric nut on a 3D printer bed, on the old bed slingers. So and that's pretty solid now. There we go. That's going up and down easily. It's not binding. It's not too tight. There we go. That was simple. Okay, that was step 6. Now, no, that was step 4. No, I skipped a step. Okay, hang on. I skipped a step. Oh, I missed a step. Okay, so step 4, first install the screw set to the 2040 profile, then install the third step assembly onto the 24 aluminum. Oh, okay, they've kind of got these backwards because this, yeah, the instructions aren't super clear, but it's pretty straightforward what you got to do. So obviously there is a stopper down here, and you need to install a T-nut. Now I can probably get away with that. T-nut should drop nicely, should just drop right down to the bottom, and it did. So the T-nut's down there. There we go. So that's all they wanted to do, was install this stopper down here before I put this on, but that's okay. I don't have to take it off. That T-nut dropped down there nicely, and why does that? Oh, there we go. And we can tighten this thumb screw, and there we go. That's sort of sitting in place right there. You can kind of see that just sitting down in the bottom there. That's the stopper. Obviously it's going to go higher because we've got the tip of the soldering iron there, but we got that stopper in place. And now they are saying installing the tensioning spring. So it looks like we just put those other 2 thumb nuts through the spring, one in the top and one goes down. There's a hole right here for inserting that tensioning spring knob, and then we're going to use one of the other T-nuts up top for it. Okay, makes sense. So we'll grab one of these thumb screws, thumb nuts, whatever you want to call them. It's going to go through the spring, so we're going to be hanging the spring off of it like that, and that's going to screw right into this hole here on the slider. Obviously we don't want, there's no limitation as far as how far we can go. We'll go far enough so that we can block a T-nut from escaping, but we don't want to go to lock it into the back of the extrusion, otherwise we won't be able to move this up and down. And then we take the other thumb nut, thumb screw. Got to put it through the spring first. Okay, then we can put a T-nut on the end here. Come on. I'm just doing this at an odd angle so you can see it. There we go. And then we're going to take this and slide that down the extrusion. Okay, so this is going to adjust your spring tension and your height. So, and then we can snug this up into that. There we go. So there, okay, that's kind of cool. So now you have some tension from the spring, and it's actually not too bad. So I would assume the lower you pull this whole spring, the less tension. The higher you pull this spring, like if I add that way up there, of course you're going to have more tension the closer you get to the plate. Well, that's kind of cool. That's an adjustable tension setting. Okay. See, the instructions kind of go back and forth backwards, because now they're saying at this point to avoid damaging the wheel during assembly. So now they're saying to tighten the eccentric nut, which we've already done. So I don't think it matters. So that looks like that's it for the instructions. They don't even tell you to put the cap on the top of the 2040 extrusion, but that's pretty... oh, you know what I didn't do? Yeah, I made a mistake already. Look at that. Put that cap on. I made a mistake. I didn't put the lock washers. So we'll put it in there. I forgot the lock washers on this cap. So there's supposed to be 2 lock washers that go in here. So I told you this is a live sort of type video. So we are going to loosen these, and that may tighten this up a little more than it tightened. So, and we're just going to pop this out and put those lock washers in place. Okay. Don't forget your lock washers. And we'll get that back in there. There, that's back in place. And now this one. Not a big deal because we don't have to disassemble anything in order to do this. So just a little oops. Okay, lock washer. There we go. Okay, so move that over about there. Looks like we can loosen these off and then adjust the position of this anywhere along that 2020 extrusion. There we go. This seems to be tightening a little better now with the lock washers in place. There we go. Now, I'll bet you that soldering iron, yeah, it doesn't pull out as much, yeah. So those lock washers were definitely required to snug this right up in place. So now between the eccentric nut being tightened and this being tightened, we have a perfectly vertical motion here without any swaying left or right. So, okay. So that looks like we have a spare M5 by 16 millimeter screw and a spare T-nut. So hopefully they're spares. At least I think they are. I don't think I missed anything. So okay, so let's go ahead and put our tools aside. Now we're going to look. That's it for the instructions. They don't tell you about putting on. They don't tell you about putting on the heat press, the inset tip here or anything like that. But that's pretty simple. So it looks like we pull off this protection cover, which I've never seen on a soldering iron before. That's pretty cool. And then these are just your standard soldering iron. So we just loosen this bottom portion here. Okay, and then that'll allow the soldering tip to come out, this guy. Put that aside. Let's go ahead and open up this bag. There we go. We have all our heat insets, and then this is the tip we want here. This is the one that the heat insets are going to attach to. So we'll put that in here. And then that goes up in place where the soldering iron tip went. Like so. And we're going to snug that up good. I find on my other one that tends to come loose. So just want to make sure that's nice and tight. Now we want to find the M3, because that's what I'm going to be using is the M3 inset tip. And we have a lot of tips, it looks like all the way up to, well, it's probably what, an M12 or something. That's massive. All the way down to probably an M0.5 if there is such a beast, really tiny. To find the proper tip, I have some heat insets here. I'm going to grab one and just see which one is the M3, because these are not labeled. Don't see these labeled anywhere, but is that my, yeah, my first guess was right. So that's the one for the M3 we're going to put in. So we're just going to screw this tip on here. And again, we're going to make sure that's nice and tight, which it is. Good. And we'll put the rest of these tips back in a bag so we don't lose them. And put the soldering tip in there as well. Not that I'll ever use that soldering tip, but hey, we'll keep it. Okay. Now is the moment of truth. Let's go ahead and unwind the plug. We shall put some power onto this thing. There we go. Now, the one thing the instructions did say, and I noticed, the opening method of iron. I like the translation. It's great. The opening method of iron, press hashtag for 3 to 5 seconds. Okay. There's a hashtag. The middle button is a red button. It's got a hashtag on it, and it looks like you got to press it for 3 to 5 seconds. So let's see. 1, 2, 3. Oh, there we go. And then we have the light. Oh, that is really nice. Here, let me show you this. That's actually quite nice. My other soldering iron doesn't have this. I'll show you a close-up of this. Hopefully the light will, hopefully I can get that to focus and show you that. There we go. It's got a temperature readout right there, 300 degrees. And then we have a plus and a minus button for adjusting the temperature, so I can go up in temperature, 302, 301. I think 300 is going to be fine. Whoops. So we're just going to leave that at 300, but that's kind of nice. So the middle button's the power button, and then we have a plus and a minus temperature button. Here, let me get out of this camera before it makes you sick. Oh, there we go. So that's good, and it is, oh yeah, it's heating up. There we go. Ooh, that is heating up pretty good. So I'm going to, I have these leftover extra spare parts that I printed that have a couple holes where I can put heat insets. I don't know if heat insets are supposed to go in there, but they're perfect size for them. So I'm going to stick 2 of them in, 2 of the heat insets in here and just see how this thing works. Okay, I'll give us a, here, let me give us a close-up view of this as well. Okay, so we're going to got one in here, and then we'll put another one in here so it's pretty close to this wall. So we'll see how close this iron can get us. So let me bring this camera down. Hopefully it's going to focus for us. There, that's not bad. Okay, so we're just going to go like this. And actually what I'll do is we'll do the first one so you can see the motion of the machine, and then we'll zoom in for the second one. So nice and smooth. Spring's a little bit tight. Now, what I could do in this case is I can lower the whole thing because my piece isn't so tall, and now I don't have as much pressure coming down, and then I can go ahead and line it up and push down on that heat inset, and look at that. Boom, done. That worked really well. That first heat inset is in there nicely. So let's go ahead and we'll zoom in for the second one here. Okay. So let's get the close-up here. We're going to do this one here. Sorry, this one here that's closest to the plastic. I'll try not to get my hands in the way. I'm going to line it up first, and then I will move my hand out of the way so the camera can see it. Okay, there we go. So we're lined up. So basically we're just going to take our handle, push down, and done. I went in a little too far with that, but that's okay. You can always set your depth here if you need to. But there we go. Those are the two insets pressed into there, nice and clean. Yeah, I think it might even be able to go a little bit less than 300 degrees because those went in there pretty quick. But they're in there fine. I can always grab a screw if I have one, which I don't need to, but I can always grab a screw. Let's just see. And then we can just boom, boom, and oh yeah, that's in there tight. It's not too tight. Sometimes if it's too hot, it melts the plastic and it'll weaken the actual joint where they go in, or the connection where they go in, and you can actually pull it out if you try hard enough. So, okay, so for now we're going to just push this to power it off. I'm assuming we're going to have to hold it for 3 to 5 seconds to power it off as well. 2, 3, there we go, 4 seconds. Okay, cool. So let's have a closer look at this now. I'm just going to unplug this for safety purposes. There we go, because we all know me and burning and cutting myself, right? So, this was the adjustable. So if we want to get closer and we have a lot of small parts to do, for instance, we can adjust this to adjust the height of this up and down. Okay, which also adjusts. You can still go down close to the bottom, but if you go up higher, you can still go close to the bottom, but you just have more tension on your spring. Okay, and then this one here is a stop. So if we slide that up, we have a piece at a certain height that we want to go to. Okay, this is a stopper right there. You can see that hitting the stopper right here. Now the only thing I'm not happy with right here, which it's not a big deal, but just a little thing, is that we're getting metal on metal for the stopper because we have the thread of the thumb nut here hitting the metal part of the slider here. I may just print a TPU or a piece of TPU to stick on there, or just even put a little bit of electrical tape around this screw. That way we're not hitting metal on metal. It's not going to hurt anything, right? Because we're not going to be pounding on it. But yeah, that's just one little thing. So we can slide the soldering iron mount left or right if we want. One thing I can see happening, if you get it too far over here and you're pulling the handle down, you can see that this would actually, especially if there's a lot of tension in the spring, that would probably be easy to lift that. And you just stick your hand down there and do it when you're doing it, or you hold your piece while you're holding your hand down there to hold the plate down. That's good. The only other, and then the one limitation I see now too, is so that's up as high as it'll go. Okay, so we are looking at we have a limitation right here of about, let's grab this ruler here. So we are looking at about a height of about, let's say 100 millimeters. So 10 centimeters, 100 millimeters. So that's going to be the tallest piece you'll be able to put in there is 100 millimeters. When I saw this machine, I thought there's probably an alternate way, because you know what? We as makers, at least some of you guys watching this are probably makers, we have what we call spare parts hanging around. So for instance, I have this piece of silver 2040 extrusion, which happens to be the same height as that one. But again, you could have taller. Well, now here, this is going to be ridiculous. I have this other piece of 2040 extrusion laying around, which does have threaded ends, which happens to be 560 millimeters long. So theoretically, I could screw this into that base, and I could have much taller, I could put much taller pieces in to use with my heat inset press if I wanted to. That way you've covered a whole range. I may do that for fun later, but most of the stuff I do are for the 3D printer builds or little projects will fit in this 100 millimeter space that's in there. So, but again, that's another option, is you're not limited to the height. The only thing that would be, I guess, would be different is the higher you go, the more unstable it may be as far as tipping this way. But and it's possible that you're going to have a little bit of instability. But this is actually way overkill as far as height. But that's the shortest long piece that I have. But you can always cut these down and use whatever height you want. So you're not necessarily limited to this, to the 100 millimeter height of your working piece here. So that's great. So that's really good. But overall, I like this. Has that cooled down much yet? So, to prevent injury, I think this is silicone. My luck, I'll put it on there and it will. High temperature casing. Okay, so obviously you can put that on there just to prevent yourself from burning while you're doing other things. I wouldn't leave it turned on with this on there, but that's probably not a bad idea just to get it on there, because it's still a little warm to the touch. And that way, being me, I won't burn myself on this. So there we go. That is the that is the unboxing and building of the 3D ZW Man. And they're calling it a vertical heat pressing machine. I call it a heat inset press. So there we go. I hope you liked the review on this and the build on this. Well, I wouldn't call it a review. It's more of a build and then showing you how it's working as well. I'm going to put some links to the Amazon Canada. I'll see if I can find the US one, but I'll put links to the Amazon Canada um, um, for this below, and I'll try to get the US one. And also I've got a link, I'll put a link below to Bryan Vines' video on, he's got a whole video on why you do heat insets, how to do heat insets, and he's actually using this same machine. But he just doesn't assemble this machine. He may have a video assembling this, but I didn't see it. So, but I'll put a link there for that so you can do that as well. So thank you everybody for watching. I appreciate it. Hit that like button if you liked it. If you're not subscribed to my channel, I would appreciate a subscription. I'm going to be doing more videos like this. I stream live every Sunday, most Sundays at 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Right now we're doing a build for a Voron Tri-Zero, which is the 0.1 or the 0.2, which is out now, with a Trident style bed on it, so, and a larger frame. So tune in for that, or if you're watching this later after that build is done, go back if you want to watch those live builds, and you might enjoy it. So thank you very much. Everybody have a great day, weekend, evening, morning, whatever it is for you right now, and appreciate you watching. Take care, and bye for now.